one of our members who ended up paying more for the wholesale fee than he was paying for the property itself. Because the property was worth so much more than what the seller wanted, and the wholesaler, he knew that, and he didn't try to negotiate with him. The seller wanted that price. He said, okay, I'll get it for you. And then the other investor came by and said, well, I'll give you this price. Turned out to be that the wholesale fee was higher than that. And he even called me, he says, what do I do? I'm like, well, are you okay with that? And he's like, yeah, I'm okay with it. not the wholesaler, the buyer, the end buyer. He's like, once he saw the contract, he's like, oh shit. He said, I'm okay with it. I don't mind giving the guy that kind of money. It's his first deal. I mean, he'll never have that kind of a deal again the rest of his life, but it's like, you know, you go out fishing and for the first time in your entire life, and the first fish you catch is a trophy and you mount it on the wall, right? That's what happened to this kid. So it'll never happen again in his entire life.
Disappointing after that.
Right. Everything's gonna suck after that. All right, so he even called me up and said, what do I do? I'm like, well, there's nothing wrong with it. It's not illegal. If you're okay paying it, there's no issues with it. He's like, well, I'm okay paying with it because it's still a really good deal because I know that property. It's in my neighborhood, my market. It's just the seller didn't know what they. And I think what the deal was, he found out later on. And this is an extremely valuable lesson right now. People ask me all the time, well, why would a seller do that? Because I mean, the biggest thing I'm looking for, and not just as a wholesaler, but as a real estate investor. Do you guys know what my number one thing that I'm looking for? Who knows it?
Cash.
No, when people ask me, what are you looking for? Like if you're gonna find me deals.
Yeah, motivated sellers.
Motivated sellers, right? That's all I want is a motivated seller. And then people will say, well, where do you want the property? Wherever there's a motivated seller. Well, how many bedrooms do you want? How many ever bedrooms are in the property with a motivated seller? I'm like, literally, the only thing I care about is a motivated seller.
Got it.
And some of the, my best deals come from motivated sellers because I can structure different types of things. And then sometimes a deal will come by and people say, like, Mike, why would a seller do that? I'm like, I don't know. It's not my job to figure out what their motivation is. My job is to figure out if they're motivated, how to solve their situation. I think this situation turned out because it was an elderly gentleman. So talking to the investor, the end buyer, he got a little bit more information from the wholesaler who really didn't know what he was doing, but I got a feeling what it was a property that needed to be sold to settle a judgment or a debt with the state because of home health care, I don't know if it's assisted living or something like that. But they just said, okay, get it sold, and they set the price because they misvalued it themselves. And he didn't want to give him any more than what was necessary. So he's like, take it. Because he wasn't going to get anything out of it anyways. So that's what we think happened. So who knows what their motivation is. But if you see that motivation, does that make sense why somebody would do that? And sell for half of what they could have gotten?